So I guess all the time, how do I build my business as a real estate investor? How do I go from being part-time to full-time? How do I leave my W-2 job to get into being an investor full-time? And really, that's a transformation. You're like changing from who you are to who you want to be. I went through that in my life, and that's how I became a full-time real estate professional. And in my experience, to do that, you need three things. You need a coach or a mentor. You need a system or some procedures to follow. And you need a community to help you in that process. Now, the LA Real Estate Investing Group has great opportunities there as part of that, and I encourage you to participate. But one of the people on the way also that can help you is Casey Eberhart, who in my experience is a great coach and mentor, who has some great systems and procedures to help you build your business and build your investing portfolio, and has a couple amazing communities, many of which are free or free to get started in. And so I'm really excited to have one of my coaches join us today, Casey Eberhart. Casey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome, Bill. I am so excited for doing this. I can hardly contain myself.
It's hard because I know you've told me what to do here, and so here I'm doing it with you. I hope I meet your standards for success. You really helped me build my networking and my growth. So let's just go back to the beginning. How does networking intersect with a goal to increase one's real estate income and or portfolio of wealth? What's the connection with networking and making more money?
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually love the question because for some context, not only am I a real estate investor, but I also have a coach. I run a mastermind program, and I consult and advise businesses kind of around the planet on this very thing. And so it is my hypothesis that once you learn a skill set and you understand the why behind the skill set, then at the end of the day, you can go anywhere in the world, deploy that skill set or deploy that strategy or tactic or whatever, and be off to the races. And the other thing that I did is I come from Hollywood, and I used to go around and I would speak on stages anywhere from 4 people to 20,000 people. And I would ask this same question to every audience: who's the most powerful woman in the world? And I would get the same answer everywhere I went. Oprah Winfrey. Everywhere I went. She has not been a prolific talk show host for over 20 years at this point, but I was still getting it. Now, every once in a while, I'd get the Queen and Beyonce and Taylor Swift and Michelle Obama, and some guy would always say his wife. But the through line was always Oprah Winfrey. And I really started to think about, what is it that Oprah actually sells? And if you really break down what she actually sells, it's her influence and her network. And so I started to study Oprah, is really how this kind of came about. I started studying Oprah, and at the same time, I was a kid. I was in my under 20, and I was working at this amusement park. And I was trying to figure out how I could excel at the amusement park in job, because I just didn't want to be a ticket taker all my life. And at the same time, I was starting to study Oprah and just going, how is it that she can fill a room full of people? Car companies will give a car to everybody in the audience. She has the ability to get Tom Cruise on her show. Like, how does that all work? And what I realized at the end of the day was there's a red velvet rope of life. And that red velvet rope, to some, is outside of a club. To some, it is access to capital. To some, it is access to deals. To some, it is proximity to celebrity. To some, it's just being able to open a door that you otherwise wouldn't be able to open. And so I really started to look at, how do those doors get open? And at the end of the day, those doors get open with the same mechanism that Oprah has, and that's influence. And so when I talk about building a network, I'm talking about, at the end of the day, really building a network of influence. Who can you pick up the phone and call, or who could pick up the phone and call you, that would allow you to get past the red velvet line? And that's really the way and the mechanism that I think most people skip. I'm at a massive mastermind right now down here in San Diego, and we're teaching and talking to people about mergers and acquisition. And all of these people are talking about all these systems and processes to do outbound cold outreach through LinkedIn or through Zoom Info, or all of this outbound stuff. And then they put me on stage and they start talking about the deal flow that I have. And they're like, well, what do you use for these cold outbound mechanisms? I'm like, I don't. I have a very simple philosophy in my investing, in my deal making, in my advising, in my consulting. I'm low tech, big check. And that means that it is much easier for me to pick up the phone and answer it than it is to dial it. And really, Bill, that's the switch that gets flipped for people when they understand the power of networking on purpose and with intention. And I'm not talking necessarily about networking where you're going to some chamber of commerce event and you're handing out your business card to 30 people, and then you just go home and just say, oh my gosh, I did it. I passed out 30 business cards. Like, if I just do that 10 times, that's 300 business cards, just sheer dumb luck I'm going to get it. You know, even a blind squirrel will eventually find a nut. But if you are on purpose and you're strategic and you're with intention and you put in place some systems and processes to grow and build your network of relationships, grow your network of influence, the game changes. I joke, if you've been around Bill for very long, we always talk about this meeting that takes place at the Sizzler up in Los Angeles. And I just closed on a triplex down in Texas. And the funny thing was, the deal came to me because of somebody in my phone. He literally called me while I was at this Sizzler meeting because he used to attend. He was like, hey, I've got this deal. I think you should take it down. Well, I then needed a private investor. You know where that private investor came from? My phone. When you look at how to put together a network, and then you are really, truly on purpose, staying in touch with connecting, depositing social tokens, if you will, into that relationship, then down the track, it just becomes a whole heck of a lot easier.
Well, I think just to put a little fine point on what you've talked about, like, not only you're not against going to network events, you go to some network events. But the difference is when you go, a lot of people there know who you are ahead of time and are seeking you rather than you have to go around and talk to them individually, number one. And I also know, number two, having followed your system, when I go, I meet the few people I want to. And because of all the other networking activities going on in my business, I'm going to stay in touch with them forever. So they'll call me a year later and say, hey, Bill, I met you at the Sizzler. Do you remember me? And the answer is like, first of all, I don't remember anything. I'm 64 years old. Number one.
Right?
Number two, I meet so many people, I have to apologize, and I feel bad. I don't want to be that guy, them above them. I want to remember them. I just don't. But they don't care. They have a deal. They want somebody who's going to help them, and they're reaching out to me. And so because I've met people over time over the last years, but they're all in my database, then more of them call me, where my business is pretty much all day just appointments of people who want to talk to me rather than me have to all the time go out and find other people. Nothing wrong with doing it once in a while or strategic. I go to the Sizzler event. I go to the Lyric events, fantastic, once a month. I host my own event once a month. I do about one event a week. That's as much as I can handle. I can't get a business on one event a week. But if I add that to all the systems you talk about. So let's talk about how is it that you make when all these people on this call theoretically sign up for and or go to the Lyric event, which is the vendor expo once a month, 250 people there, 50 vendors literally at a table giving you their contact info. To me, that's just such an easy target. So what should people who go to that event do to make their time, to leverage their time and make the hour they spend worth an hour rather than have to recreate it over and over again?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack there, but we'll start with.
I know that's a softball for you, and you can talk 10 hours on that topic. And I just asked you a question. So.
Well, you said something that I want to go back to because I think it'll tie into this. She's like, well, when you go into a room, everybody knows who you are. That's
true.
By design.
But that's even not true. You go there and you're very humble. I don't want to, make it sound like you're only going, or I don't want anybody to hear that. You don't only go where everybody knows you. I didn't know you when I first met you. I didn't realize you ran the whole event, and I've been going to it for a year, and you just showed up one day. So I would say most people know who you are.
But that's by design.
Right.
Here's what I recognize. I recognize that there are a few people that get all the deals. There are a few people that investors actually want to talk to. There are only a few people. If you follow the 80-20 rule, right off the top, 80% of people I don't want to compete with. I'm competing with the top 20. So now if I'm only competing with the top 20, there's another 80-20 inside of that. And that 80-20 inside of that is that 20% are going to be people that go the extra mile and are really on purpose. I want to put my category of being on purpose. So when I walk into a room, like I'll give you an example. Let's bring us back to the vendor event down that you guys do. I go into that event. I didn't know a single person. The first time I walked in, yet I knew a bunch of people. And I would say much more importantly, more people knew me than I knew them, right? So here's how, the first thing I would do is when I go down to that event, the vendors that he has down there, that Lloyd has down there are absolutely phenomenal. I know probably 75 to 80% of them. Why? They are the people that have influence at the event, right? So if you meet somebody that does mortgages and you need a mortgage, that relationship is already preset. So step one, I think for everybody, when you go to a vendor event like that is get on everybody's email list that you possibly can. You're going to stay in the know. You're going to know where they are. So now you can start to build that relationship with the vendor. The vendors have what you want, which is access to other people, right? So that's number one. Number two, this is super easy, and Bill alluded to it, and that is to be very clear on who you want to meet actually at the event. I have a set of rules. I'll share them with you. This is for me. You can take this and run with it. Number one, I'm always going to try to meet the speaker before they go up, not afterwards when everybody's lined up in what we call the Santa Claus line, but before the event. And I'll tell you how I do that in a second. Number two is the organizer. And I do all this before people even show up. Like, I want to be the first one at the event so that the organizer is fresh. They've got their face on. I can make an impact straight away. And I can offer to help if there's anything they need help with, which, by the way, happens quite often. And then number 3, 4, and 5 are yap jobs, the biggest influencers that are in the room. I'm looking. Now, listen, if you've been down to that association down there, who's running around with a microphone? Mr. Bill Gross. You want to get in Bill Gross's face when you're down there. Why? He has the influence. He has enough influence to invite someone like me to have a chat with you guys, right? This is nothing more than trading influence. And people that go, well, I don't need that. I don't know anybody, or I don't want to know anybody. Or I'm just going to go there and sit. That's all great. You're just going to get left behind because people want to do business with people that they feel has got a lot of stuff going on. So here's how you get the speaker to start mentioning you guys. And this is so easy to do. It's just kind of a crack up. Everybody knows who the speaker is at these events before they get there, right? Bill could probably tell you who the next 4 months or 5 months or 10 months of speakers are going to be at that event. The speakers usually don't know anybody in the room. Because as a speaker, I travel all around the world, and usually I show up, I got my backpack, my computer, I'm setting it up, I got my stuff ready to go. I don't know anybody in the room, okay? So here's how you guys break that. A speaker is always looking for an ally in the room to use as an example or to call out. Normally, if we don't know anybody, we'll call out like Lloyd or who's ever the organizer of the event because we don't really know anybody else, right? I mean, at this event, we're doing it, but we got giant name tags. Most of the time, you know, they've got these small little name tags, or people are cutesy and have their little name tags on. So here's a way to do it, guys. Go buy 3 copies of the speaker's book. Usually get them on Amazon or on their website. You're talking $40 maybe 60 if they're charging $20 a book. You bring 3 copies of the book and a Sharpie. You corner the speaker while they're setting up. Or if they're by themselves and nobody's talking to them, but I want you there early, 3 copies of their book. Here's what you do. Bill, I am so excited. I was so excited to hear that you were speaking tonight. I love the topic of probate. And so I'm just really fired up. I'm going to be sitting in the front row. But before we get started, I don't know if you'd be willing to do this, but I bought 3 copies of your book. I'd love to have you autograph one for me just because I think it's absolutely awesome. Number 2, I've got this client, Robert, that is just like, he needs to read your stuff. He's my top client. He's absolutely smart. He's one of the best investors I know. I'd love to have you autograph a copy because I want to send it to him just as a gift. And then the 3rd, I'd love to have you autograph it. I'm going to give it to Lloyd to give away at the end of your presentation. So someone will get an autographed copy of your book. Now, I want you to put yourself in the speaker's mode at that moment. What just happened? Somebody showed up. They cared enough to buy your book, which is probably why you're there in the first place. They brought a Sharpie, so they are prepared. They know exactly who they're going to put you in touch. You're going to put them in touch with your top client They are going to feel like they are a winner before they ever open their mouth there. Now, who is most likely going to be mentioned from the front of the room?
Well, you bought the books.
Me, because what's going to happen is in this chitter chatter, I'm going to say, tell me, so Bill, tell me about your new probate business. Hey, tell me, hey, Bill, I'm going to be walking around here talking to all these vendors and talking to all these people. Like, give me one or two things that I can use to help get people more excited about your talk. Right now, I'm having Bill talk to me about like what he's going to talk about, how I can help him. He now views me as an ally.
Right.
So now when I'm walking into the room, now I'm talking to all the vendors. There's 200 people down there, 250 people down there. I'm shaking hands. Hey, you guys, I don't really know Bill, but I bought copies of his book. He's absolutely awesome. He's going to be talking about probate and why everybody needs to have a probate real estate agent like in their back pocket. He's going to make the case on why that person should be him or somebody in his team. And oh, by the way, you're an agent. Oh my God, I know he's with EXP. You have got to talk to him about joining his team because he has systems. Like I just become a mouthpiece for this guy that I just met in the front of the room.
Right.
So now if you think about it just from an influence, imagine that at an event where there's 200 people there and you have basically an ally of the speaker. I've made myself a foot soldier essentially of the speaker or of the organizer or of the people inside of the room that have influence. And I'm just moving those people all back and forth like pawns on a chessboard. Hey, Bill, I want you to meet Kate. Kate, hey, you got to meet Lloyd over here. Bill, hey, you told me that you really wanted to meet an agent that was unhappy. Hey, I just met Sally Sue. She's at one of these other agent outfits. She's super unhappy. She said she's looking for a new agent to work with. Hey, would you mind talking to her about EXP? Boom. And I leave. I don't go there to sell anything. I don't go there to try to do anything but dump a huge batch of value in that room so that people know who I am, or at the very least go, who's that funny looking guy with glasses? And I'm usually wearing a hoodie, or so who's that funny guy wearing a hoodie? That's being on purpose. What do most people do, Bill? They roll in, they write their name really sloppy on the sign-in sheet so nobody has their email address so they can, because they think their email address is like, some mystical, I don't know, crypto wallet.
They're going to get 20 spam emails. That's really the worst thing in the world for them.
Yeah, they're going to get 20 spam emails on topics that they're at an event to learn. Right. So if I'm at a real estate investor meeting, I want to gather as much data as I can. I want to know what all of those vendors are working on because number one, I might want to go to one of their webinars or seminars or events. Number two, I want to create a vendor list of people that I can refer and recommend to people that I'm working with.
Right.
So that now Bill doesn't come up to the Sizzler very often, right? But I know he's in probate. I know he's with EXP. So do you think I'm listening for people? The second I hear a whiff or a sniff of somebody needing probate taken care of, what am I doing? Hey, you have got to talk to Bill Gross. Let me do it right now. I'm going to do a quick introduction. I then get on my phone. Right. I'll get on my phone. I'll do a text message to Bill and Sally. Bill, Sally, here's who I want. And I always say, here's why I want them to meet. You guys take it from here. Let me know when you talk. If I can do it with video, I will. Right? If I can take a picture and send that, I will. This is again, the difference between on purpose and intentional. And I'm going to just wing it. I'm going to go listen because, Lloyd's got, a cool jacket, the sponsors stand up and speak. It's your competition is almost no.
Right. Well, I think people know that put on an event is a lot of work, but if you show up on purpose, you can get a huge percentage of the value of putting on the event just for showing up maybe early and meet people. Like if I'm going to go to something, one of my rules is I want to be one of the first people there because the real networking starts before the event starts. The real value is the introduction before everybody's too busy to meet the speaker and meet the key people. They don't want to talk to me during the event. They're there to meet people during the event. And so getting there early, being on purpose.
But it's also being positioned properly. So Bill, let me give you an example that happened literally 27 minutes ago, 10 minutes before we started recording this. I'm at an event, and at this event, there are 75, 80 people in the room. And I am on faculty with this group. But most people don't know that. Just my name tag doesn't say that. My name tag just says my name on it. 10 minutes before we started this, we started the event. So they've already started this morning. I said I was coming in to do this recording. The head of the event came to me and she said, hey, would you help me in the front of the room do Q&A and takeaways from yesterday? And I said, I can't. Obviously, I've got another commitment. But I want you guys to think about what that looks like for you. Because I got there early, because I know the organizer, because I built a relationship with the organizer, her putting me in the front of the room, even if it's just holding a microphone and running a microphone back and forth and helping facilitate that. Number one, it brings me closer to her because I'm helping her. But the positioning is, oh, he must be someone or he must be somebody if she is putting him in front of the room, even if it is just running a microphone.
Right. Right.
It's these little nuances that are incredibly important. I try to sit next to the organizer or I sit next to the influencers that are in the room.
Why would you not? Why would you? No, sometimes there's a bunch of new people you want to meet. You want to sit with them perhaps. But generally speaking, if you're with the influencers, all those people are going to gravitate over towards you anyhow, and you're going to get introduced by the main person. That's like an
So Bill, you said something really interesting, and this is very nuanced. So this is kind of next level is in that case. So you go to an event, there's a bunch of new people that I want to meet, and then there's an organizer, and he's usually sitting at a table, or she's sitting at a table, or whatever. Here's the reality. I go drop my stuff next to the organizer because that's where everybody's eyes are going to be the entire meeting. I will then get up, and until the meeting starts, I will go spend the time with the new people. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't want to know the new people, but I would rather have eyeballs be seeing me next to the people of power or of influence at that event. And I'm looking to find ways to help them add value to their own event.
Right.
Right. So I'm still going to go meet the new people because they're very, very important to me. I'm going to go shake everybody's hand. If anybody's been to an event with me, I always try to shake everybody's hand before we get started. Hey, this is kind of the lay of land. This is what's going to happen to Sizzler. You're going to do this. We're going to eat here. You're going to go here. Here's a timeline. I just go be of value to the organization and be of value to the event. And then what happens is at the next one, everybody walks in and they already know who you are.
Right. They assume you put on the event, even though you haven't really done it, even paid for the venue or put the money up for the food or whatever it is. It's a fascinating experience that if you have a service, you kind of get adopted into the halo of the organization.
It's the difference between being on the outside of the red velvet rope or on the inside of the red velvet rope.
Yeah.
And Bill, I know you've experienced this. I can't tell you how many times I'll go to some kind of an event. There'll be a line outside. There'll be a red velvet rope outside. And someone that either knows me or I know them is holding there with a clipboard with names, or there's a table with a tablecloth and you've got to do all registration. The number of times that someone will say, Case, just and walk Bill or walk me right past and get just in the room. And I know this sounds weird, but people seeing that, yes, are some people going to be annoyed? Of course. But at the end of the day, most people are going to look and go, that's somebody I want to know.
Right. It's interesting. Like last night, I went to a social event at my synagogue, and, part of our, charity is to give money. And I didn't do it for any value. They had an event, they asked for sponsors, we contributed, we were able to do that. And at the event, they give you like a little wristband. This is VIP on it. And I was waiting with my family in line. And I think my daughter said, Daddy, what's the wristband do? I said, well, VIP it's supposed to mean you cut in line. And so he said, oh, you have a VIP, come on up. They like pushed us right by. And then so later in the evening, it's an organization. We've just changed synagogue. So I'm involved with a new one that's very big. And I'd love to get some business out of it. That's not why I'm there, but it'd be nice. But the president and the key people there, 3 of them, all noticed I had the VIP thing. They noticed my name was on the sponsorship. It's like the money became more valuable just because, people see you. And in most of these network events, you can almost accomplish the same thing for free just by helping out, just by being of service, just by inviting guests along with you, just by promoting it on your own podcast. People like you and want you to help them. So you're 100% right. That feeling is very valuable.
Yeah, I think the nuance is that it's not you get the same out of it as just going there. You get so much more out of there because at the end of the day, here's what I found. Influencers hang out with other influencers. Mm. People that got a lot of stuff going on tend to hang out with other people that got a lot of stuff going on. People that are connected tend to hang out with other people that are connected.
Right.
And so when I look at a lot of real estate investors, I always just sit and kind of go, I don't get it, because there are so many opportunities that investors are given. You know, I hear a lot, oh, I'm looking for off-market deals. Okay, that's 3% of the marketplace.
I get that every day.
So you got what percentage of quote investors are all fighting over a 3% sliver, right? Whereas then a guy like Bill, or a guy like our friend Robert or Jason or some of these other guys, how do they get all the deals and know where they all are? It's because when something is off market or something is going down, somebody gets a hold of it, they're calling their friends. Why? Because they want the reciprocity if the friend who's already connected comes back to them. I mean, the fact that I got this triplex that I just closed on out of my phone, because I picked it up and answered my phone. It was an off-market deal. It was I could sit and tell you guys all the reasons it was like the coolest and the easiest deal to do. No money, $0 out of pocket. I got $8,000 in a bank account to cover some reserves. I go, why is that? Because there are plenty of people that are running around in these rooms that would never be given that opportunity.
Right. I got a phone call. I get cold called a lot from investors. I try to be polite. I think one of the privileges of success is being polite and helping people. And this guy calls me. I get the, do you have any off-market listings? And of course, the answer is I do occasionally, but I know they're valuable. They're going to go to my best contacts, right?
Yeah.
And so the guy gives me his contact info, and I go, that name's familiar. I look it up. I go, hold it. You work for Sean, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll put you on my list. You work for so-and-so. He didn't mention who he's connected with. I put it together. So yeah, who you are and who you're connected to in real estate is such an important piece. Let's take it a little step further though. So people go to events and you've said to them to, get the books and to meet the organizers and participate. But from my experience, I feel like they're putting their water in a bucket with holes in it because they don't keep that information or do anything with it. And they have to meet new people all the time because the people met last month, they've already lost contact with. And I just can't tell you people I've done business with. I can think of off the top of my head a home inspector who I sent 3 or 4 orders to. I've never heard from her again. Mm-hmm. I think that's just foolish. I don't see her on social media. I don't get email from her. I don't get a phone call. So talk about the importance of building a list, building a database, building some kind of a system. Nobody wants to spend all day long as a secretary, but what should one do, even as a real estate investor, where you think about you want passive income? But you'll get more of it if you at least have a business with some systems. What does somebody need to be successful at a minimum level today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. So I'll try to keep it brief. At the end of the day, it all comes down to relationships. And so when you leave an event and you have some email addresses or some people to connect with, this is what I find is that they don't do anything with them until maybe the next event or 10 events later. And then the relationship is dust, right? So my hypothesis is that for every month you don't have contact with a client or prospect, you lose 10% of your influence. So if you only go once a year to these events, you're starting all over. That's number one. Number two, they're constantly meeting new people and they're sifting and sorting for people that are going to be connecting with them and following up with them and building a relationship with them. So that should be you. Thirdly, not having a way to connect with people after and between events is just plain amateur. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's amateur, because here's the reality, Bill. You use the bucket with the holes in it analogy. And so I'll take it a step further. I work with businesses in real estate, outside of real estate, home services, investors. Like I have a very robust background and experience in working with businesses. And here's what I know to be true. The easiest group of people to sell to in anything are your current customers. The second group of people that is harder than the first, but easier than the third are past customers, old customers, past customers. The hardest group in the world to sell to or to bring into your ecosystem where they're going to get out their credit card or their loan docs or they're going to tap into their 401k for investor money are brand new people. So you've got current customers, past customers, and new people. And here's the problem. 90% of businesses are focused 90% of their time, energy, money, and resources on new people. And so their current customers get left in the dust, and then their past customers get left in the dust. One of the things that I do a lot with our own mastermind folks is I'm like, listen, your current customers, the ones that have given you money, that went out and did something in the world to generate dollars in their pocket, and you help them solve a problem, that they gave that money to you, or they hired you as an agent, or they booked a loan with you, or they hired you to do their taxes, or they're a veterinarian and you sewed your dog up there, whatever. Those people need to be appreciated and given the opportunity to buy more from you today. Then we go back to the past customers, the people that haven't bought from us in 6 months, a year, and say, hey, either we messed up or we just didn't do anything. We're indifferent. You didn't know we cared, but we really do. Hey, come on back. But what's happening is you got all these people focused on brand new people.
Right.
And because they're not focused on groups 1 and 2, they're in a perpetual cycle of new people, and there's never enough time or there's never enough influence built up in that group. So it's just a constant churn of zero results. I see it all the time.
Plus, that new customer is always harder to work with because you're doing business with somebody who doesn't yet trust you and or like you as much, versus past clients, or people who've known you, or current clients, they already know, like, and trust you. And so the experience of doing business with them is just so much more pleasant that it makes doing business a lot easier. As a real estate agent, I often get told, well, how do you have time to do this or that? Well, I don't call 3-4 hours a day cold calling. I don't have to. So you take that chunk of time. What do I do around the office? I don't have to work as hard as those people do. I get to do other things. And that's where the benefit, I think. Now, but for a real estate investor,
it's a catch, Bill, right? The reality is that you don't have to do that because you've got systems and processes in place. But we humans are creatures of habit. We try to seek out a similar experience. I was just having this conversation with my 22-year-old nephew about McDonald's, of all things. And he was like, oh, I hate McDonald's. I'm always trying to find the best burger from a local joint. And I said, yeah, but as a guy who travels a lot, I know what I'm going to get at McDonald's. So I'm seeking a similar experience that feels good and it feels safe to me.
Right.
You guys, we choose business owners the same way. If I've done a transaction with Bill, I know what he's like. I know how he performs. What's riskier? Me using Bill again because I had a great experience, or Johnny Six-Pack over here?
Right.
So that's where the value is. If you understand psychology, we all want to have a comfortable experience. And especially in real estate, you guys, we're playing with big dollars here. We're not talking about a $4 vase of flowers, right? Or a beef jerky stick. We're talking about lives and freedom and choice and assets. And in the case of Bill, when you're dealing with probate, you're dealing with death and family and government agencies and all of that. Why would you risk going somewhere else? And I'll tell you, you would risk going someplace else if Bill didn't do his job and continuously tell you, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. If you need anything, let me know. I'm here. Hey, let me put out a great podcast so you know a little bit more what's going on in my world. Hey, let me do some YouTube videos so I can help educate you when you're in your pajamas or your PJs.
Right.
Hey, let me send you out an email. I get emails from Bill all the time. Hey, this is what makes me angry about Redfin, or this is what makes me angry about interest rates, or hey, let me educate you. He is constantly cultivating a relationship so that, honestly, you guys, think of it this way. If I needed a probate deal, I would feel guilty, like I was cheating on my relationship with Bill if I went somewhere else. That's the difference between somebody who's built influence and has built a reputation on trust and honesty and integrity versus somebody who just shows up at a BNI chapter, says a couple of things, and is out.
You know, and I think investors, the mistake they make, let me back up. The best investors all have regular presences in the marketplace, are constantly networking, constantly staying in touch, and looking for new deals. Literally last night, I met a man. He's the father of my son-in-law's best friend. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. His son is so nice. It sounds reason. He's like one of the nicest guys ever. Very wealthy, got plenty of money. One of the nicest guys you ever meet. And he knows I'm in real estate and says, well, if you find a deal, give me a call. And as nice as he is, I'm never going to call him. Why? Because it's not really that important to him. Like, I want to work with investors who are out looking for deals, like, seriously all the time. And if it's like, well, if you have a good deal, send it to me. Well, yeah, but my time's valuable. I'm not going to just.
But this is the thing. I hear that all the time, Bill. And let me just interrupt you to go, why? Why should Bill send you a deal? Like, if
he's a really nice guy.
Like,
don't get me wrong. If I was a woman, he's the kind of guy I want to marry. Like, he's like the nicest guy you'd ever meet, but he's not serious about real estate, as evidenced by the fact I'm never going to hear from him again. And I don't really look for investors like that. When the deals come up, I just pick up the phone right away, and the deal's done, and I move on.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing, Bill. This is just food for thought for all of you investors out there, just coming from one. I learned very long ago that my role as an investor is to not look for deals. My role as an investor is to find other investors.
Right.
And so my focus is not hounding Bill for a deal. My focus is who has money they need to help deploy, who can I help educate on how to untether cash that they could help partner with me on a deal. So I focus on finding other investors with money. There's 97% of the deals I can go find on the MLS. The deal flow is not where I think the focus should be. That's my own hypothesis. My focus is building relationships with investors, because then I know I can really focus on building my relationship with Bill. So when Bill calls me with a deal, I don't have to go, well, I don't know about the money. Now I got to go spend 6 months going around all these rooms begging for money, blah, blah, blah. Bill calls me. He knows I've got a list of investors. I can close. I've got a great reputation, and I'm ready to rock and roll. My goal is that Bill doesn't call you, if I'm really honest. My goal is that Bill Gross does not call you with a deal, or Robert Orfino does not call you with a deal, or Lloyd doesn't call you with a deal, or Steve doesn't call you with a deal. You know what my goal is? They call me.
Right. And either you take it down yourself or you find somebody who does, and I don't really care either way.
I partner with more people and pass referrals off, because here's the thing, Bill. If you call me with a deal today, I can do it through my own underwriting document. Now, we're not going to get into that, but I could do it through my own underwriting and go, you know what, that deal's not for me. But you know what? Because I've got a pool of investors, and that's who my network is, right, I'm going to sell that deal to one of my investors on behalf of Bill. Right. I don't want money for it. I'm not looking for that. All I want is for Bill to call me on the next one.
And if I'm calling, it's because it is a deal. Now, it might not be for you. As I said to this guy last night, everybody has they always say to me, this is how I know you're not serious. Oh, you can send me anything I can make money on. Well, if it's that obvious, I don't need to call you. I just do it myself. Yeah. What I know is everybody has certain appetites, certain preferences. Some people like multifamily. Some want to flip houses. Some LA County North, some South, some South Bay, some Orange County. Nobody's going to take it all down that I'm going to come across, right?
I literally develop a cap table. So for me, when I meet an investor, I have a series of questions I get with that investor. Right. How much do you have? How fast do you have access to it? Where is it located? What is your appetite for risk? What are you looking to have as a return? And what are you into? And more importantly, what are you not into?
And I'll call people, and when I meet them, I'll go anywhere, and I call them and say, "Oh, I have a deal. It's in, Santa Clarita, and they live in, let's say, Encino." Well, that's too far. I'm busy this week. Well, hold on. I thought you said you want deals. Like, professionals will find a way to get there, or send somebody to get there, send their daughter, send their spouse, send their friend. They have a contract. Like that's not doing business. That's kind of cherry picking, and everybody would like to cherry pick, but you can't develop relationships like that. You're missing the opportunity. And that's why, same with me, there's plenty of listings I've taken of properties that I made no money on, but I have the relationship with that seller now. So I make money on the next deal. I took some land that it was like $10,000. So the commission was $1,000. My fixed expenses are about $800. So, I made $200 for hours of work, but that same seller had multiple other properties that I sold and made good money on. That's the key, is the relationship, not just the one transaction. So we've talked a lot. We talked about going to networking events. We talked about the importance of building relationships. How do people keep those contacts? Keep those, like I know in your program, Expand the Business, we get into developing a CRM, developing a mailing list, developing a social media platform, though they can also invite them to yours and participate with them. How should somebody who's an investor, what kind of resources or systems do they need to be successful and to leverage their time?
There are so many. So I'll start with pick whatever you'll actually use, right? I mean, we're going to do an exercise in this room this morning where I'm going to have everybody text people in their phone just to stay in touch. Do that once a month. Write your list of influencers down on a piece of paper, and once a month send them all a text message just saying, hey, what's going on? What's happening? What's new in your world? How can I help? What deal do you have? What are you looking at? What can I do to help? Easy. 2, social media. You got to be able to be in front of people between conversations, right? So your investor group should know what you're doing, right? So this is when I work with real estate agents, this is like the easiest thing to do, and it's mind-boggling to me why more agents don't do it. Go do a 1-minute video and a post every time you go show a house. Every time you go show a house, flip your camera on, go, this is what's cool, this is what I don't like, this is what's available in Santa Clarita, for $970 or whatever. It shows that you are in it. But even with somebody, I'm going to circle back, Bill, to something you said earlier on, which is somebody's going to say, hey, I met you at this. Do you remember me? Well, the reality is they remember Bill because they're watching videos that he's doing. They're watching social media posts that he's doing. They're reading his emails that he's doing. He is in front of them multiple ways, multiple times a month. So I don't watch every one of Bill's podcasts.
What?
Right? I know, right? But I know that it's only going to be a day or two until I get his newsletter. There's going to be a day or two later, I'm going to get a newsletter through his LinkedIn, or I can go to his LinkedIn page. I know what Bill is up to very clearly. And so this is my recommendation. Put your top 100 people on a list, on a piece of paper, on a whiteboard, whatever you're going to do, and make it your mission that once a month you do something. Send them a birthday card, send them a greeting card, send them an article in the mail, send them a text message with a link to something that might be of use to them. Do something so that they know you are there. If you don't, you're competing with guys and gals that do.
Yeah.
Right? Like this guy that says, hey, send me any deals. What has that guy done for Bill that would make Bill send that guy a deal before somebody who has been on his podcast, invited him on a podcast, sent him a birthday card, knew about his grandkids, knows that he doesn't work on Saturday, knows who he is as a person, went down to one of his events, invited somebody to his helping agents event, brought somebody down to Lloyd's event, talked about EX. Like, how did that guy do anything to earn the right for Bill to send him a deal? That's how I just go through life. It's like, I want Bill to send me a deal, but I'm going to earn it.
Well, you've earned a lot with me. You've really been an instrumental part of my business and success. I realized my business 5 years ago, probate real estate. And one of the main areas has been networking, and the other main area has been video. And you've really been the instrumental coach. So Casey, I really appreciate the time you spend. We can go on for hours. You obviously literally do events like this for hours at a time. So I'm going to, out of respect for your time, I'm going to wrap up real quick and just say thank you. But before I let you go, just real quick, kind of some housekeeping so you understand where we are. This is the official Los Angeles County Real Estate Investors Association podcast. You go to lareic.com. And importantly, there's an event every single month is the Vendors Expo. We get about 250 people in the class on a topic related to real estate. I know Casey comes this regularly, and you can sign up, and it's free. Get in. It's in West Los Angeles, in the Palms area, at the Iman Center. In December, the topic is out-of-state investing, but there's always a topic relative to real estate that's helpful. So we'd love to have you sign up for that for free, and love to see you there. I'm the official podcaster. Come up and say hi. If you want to continue the conversation with Casey, he's on Facebook. You can go to expandthebusiness.com. Is a small business networking, business building type group. And it's a great Facebook group where you can interact with other people and see more of what Casey offers. He also has a real estate investor network US.com, which is related to his networking next level program. And there again, you can see other real estate investing related content and programs and network with him live and online as well. He has a program, Networking Next Level. You can get to that at networking.billgrossprobate.com, networking/billgrossprobate.com. That's a free event, and he does it almost monthly. It's usually a 2-day event, either done on the weekends or during the week. Really, it lays out all of his principles and will give you for free, I think, a fundamental basis to start with. Now, I know that he also offers ability to upgrade and continue coaching with him. But unlike most programs, you're going to get 2 days of great value. And I really encourage all of my customers and all my team members to take this program, at least then decide if you're going to continue with him, but at minimum, get those fundamentals done as well. And then he has a great program, 120 tips for power networking. You'll see this post in his other social media. And if you want to get that, go to powernetworkingtips.com and you can get that information. Casey, for everything you've done for me and for our friends and our colleagues, thank you, and really appreciate your time today and look forward to working with you again soon.
Well, and Bill, I just wanted to say on behalf of everybody that's ever been around you or learned about you or learned from you or worked with you, I think we collectively want to just say a big thank you. Wow. You bring so many cool conversations to the investor space and to the real estate space. You work really hard at your core to always be bringing value and to do that in a way that's honest, filled with integrity, and always having the person on the other side of the table always win. And I think it is a rare quality that is not often highlighted enough in you. And so I just thank you. I appreciate you. I think I speak on behalf of everybody on your EXP team, all of your clients, all of your future clients, all of your past clients, probably some of your family members, not all, but we all just really appreciate you, Bill. And thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks, Casey. Thank you so much for everything and your kind words. It's really nice. And I think that's the other part is when you find your passion, you find your voice, what Casey's offered is the ability to leverage that as my business. I think I'm not grinding on the phone selling something I don't believe in. I really, because I have this amplification, I'm able to share what I do believe in, and it's been very gratifying. So again, thank you for the kind words, Casey, and continue. And for the rest of you, we do this every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific. We live stream it onto YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Love to have you participate. Ask questions. Either I'll answer them or Casey will get back to you with that. I appreciate your help, and I'm at billgrossprobate.com. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thank you so much.